Hey there folks, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. And welcome to my third and final blog of my Neverland Marathon. For those who haven't seen my previous two episodes, I blogged the 2015 Pan movie, which was trying to tell Peter Pan's origin stories, but had many flaws in it. And afterwards, I blogged Walt Disney's Peter Pan from 1953, which is regarded by fans as a beloved Disney classic. But there is one character from the original story that I have yet to talk about, Wendy's daughter Jane. Now, there isn't really much detail about her, but at the end of the original story, years after her first adventure with Peter, Wendy has grown up and has a daughter named Jane, whom Peter takes to Neverland for spring cleaning. But have you ever wondered if there could ever be a movie that centers around Jane in Neverland? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Released on February 15th, 2002, the movie is Return to Neverland. So, let's get started. Wendy is all grown up, with children of her own, and as World War II rages in London, she calms them with the tales of Peter Pan. Wendy's stubborn 12-year-old daughter Jane has no patience for such nonsense until Captain Hook uses the girl as a pawn in capturing his arch-rival. Peter Pan, Tinker Bell, and the Lost Boys come to her aid. Even they cannot make Jane a believer in the magic of imagination. Unless she believes, she cannot fly, and there is no other way for her to return home to London. So, what do I think of this film? Well, to be honest, I thought this was a pretty decent Disney sequel, and it was absolutely a lot of fun. But before I get ahead of myself, let's move on to Mustang Notes. Disney Movie Toon Studios, aka Disney Video Premiere, developed and then assigned the work for Peter and Jane to Disney Animation Canada. The film was a Peter Pan sequel, originally designed as its first theatrical release. In fall 1999, the Canadian unit stopped work on what was then a video release. With Canada's closure, work on Peter and Jane was moved to Australia and Japan units. Cornerstone Animation was contracted to do animation direction. The film moved back to Disney Movie Toon's theatrical release. Now, in my opinion, the animation in this movie looks really good in both London and Neverland. Also, there is some computer animation in this film, like in the scene where Hook's ship is flying through London. There are also a few scenes that bring back memories from the first movie. For example, at the beginning of the film, we see cloud shapes and silhouettes of stuff like Captain Hook, Wendy, John, Michael, the Lost Boys, the Mermaids, Skull Rock, Tick-Tock the Crocodile, and the Indian totem pole. Also, as soon as the Jolly Roger enters the second star to the right, we hear voices from the first movie. What's more, the scene where Peter Pan and the Lost Boys fly Jane back to London brings back fond memories of You Can Fly. I especially love the scene where Peter shows Jane to many different places around Neverland, like Mermaid Lagoon, the Indian Camp, Rainbow Falls, and Skull Rock. Also, the final climax at the end of the movie is pretty similar to the fight in the first movie, except Jane and the Lost Boys are slingshooting jewels and gold at the pirates instead of rocks. Now, since this movie takes place during World War II, In my opinion, it's really depressing for a Disney sequel, because it's sad seeing homes destroyed by bombs and seeing all the children being evacuated away from their parents. But there's one thing that's been in my mind ever since I saw the movie. Do you guys remember the part when Hangman's tree exploded from Hook's bomb? Makes me wonder how the tree got rebuilt in this film. I mean, could Peter and the boys rebuild it themselves? Or did Wendy's stories magically restore the tree? I guess we'll never know. Now, like the first film, this movie has a few songs in it. The first song is Second Star to the Right, sung by Jonathan Brooke. Which is reprised from the first movie. To me, I think this cover is very beautiful and tear-jerking. The second song is I'll Try, also sung by Jonathan Brooke. To me, this is the saddest song in the whole movie. The song details Jane's inner turmoil as she suffers the loss of her childhood innocence in tough times and refuses to believe in fantasies in spite of her mother Wendy's encouragement. It is later sung as an uplifting reprise when Jane mourns over Tinkerbell's death and finds something to believe in spite of her troubles. Then there's Here We Go Another Plan, sung by Mr. Smee when he's about to dump some octopus food into the ocean. To me, this is a pretty silly but short song, and it's also pretty forgettable. Next is So To Be One of Us, sung by Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, while trying to make Jane one of their group, despite the fact that she's a girl. Before she can become one of them, she must learn the ways of the Lost Boys while treasure hunting. To me, despite some gross stuff like mud and a fart joke, this is a really fun song. Heck, even my sister loves this song. And why is that? Well, believe it or not, my sister Sabrina got to be a lost boy on stage back in 2007. After Jane finds the treasure, Peter declares her a lost girl, which leads into a short reprise which comes to an abrupt end when Toodles blows the whistle that Captain Hook gave Jane. Finally, there's Do You Believe in Magic, sung by B.B. Mac during the end credits. Now that we're done with Mustang notes, let's move on to the characters and their voice actors. Our hero, Peter Pan, is voiced by Blaine Weaver, who co-wrote the Manic movie. To me, Peter is still the same eternal 12-year-old boy who never grows up. Despite being a bit boastful and silly, he's also a very supportive character when trying to help Jane get back home, when trying to teach her to fly, and teaching her to be a lost boy. Our main heroine, Jane, is voiced by Harriet Owen, who has done a few sitcoms like Mystery Gallowglass and Animal Arc. In this film, Jane used to listen to her mother's stories, but after her father got drafted, she decides to throw away her childhood and act grown up. To me, that's what I have a big issue with, because sometimes I believe losing your youth would mean losing yourself. Even on Neverland, her maturity is trouble, because without her faith or belief, she can't fly, And of course, it almost kills Tinkerbell. But while having fun with Peter and the boys, she starts to regain her youth, and she's awesome when rescuing Peter from Hook. Also, I think Peter and Jane make a great team together. Next we have Peter's fairy friend, Tinkerbell. When she first meets Jane, Tink takes an immediate disliking towards her, similar to her disliking of Wendy in the first film. While Peter tries to teach Jane to fly, Tinkerbell reluctantly bestows pixie dust upon Jane. But the flight lessons end in failure, and afterwards, Jane's disbelief causes Tink to fall ill, which makes her light start to fade. After Tink is revived, she and Jane become thick as thieves, and work together to rescue Peter and the boys. Next we have the Lost Boys. Cubby, voiced by Spencer Breslin, who played Curtis in the Santa Claus sequels, and Conrad in The Cat in the Hat. Nibs, voiced by Bradley Pierce, who played Chip in Beauty and the Beast, and Peter Shepard in Jumanji. Slyly, voiced by Quinn Beswick. The twins, both voiced by Aaron Spann, who voiced Littlefoot in the 11th Land Before Time movie, and voiced Joshua in The World Ends With You, and Kingdom Hearts 3D, and Toodles, who has no voice actor. Now, I gotta say, thank goodness they stayed with Peter at the end of the first movie, unlike in the original J.M. Barrie story, where Wendy brings them with her to London. To me, the Lost Boys may be silly little hooligans, but they are still fun, and they are such a riot. However, one of the boys, Toodles, reminds Jane of her little brother Danny. Our villain, Captain Hook, is voiced by veteran voice actor Corey Burton. Known for voicing Gus in the Cinderella sequels, Yen Sid in Epic Mickey and the Kingdom Hearts games, and the Ghost Host in the Haunted Mansion Holiday, and many, many more. Hook is first seen kidnapping Jane, thinking that she's Wendy, and attempts to feed her to the octopus as bait to kill Peter Pan. After that fails, Hook plans not only to destroy Peter Pan, but also plans to get his treasure back, so he tricks Jane into helping him find the treasure in exchange for a passage back to London, which I find is pretty similar to what Hook did to Tinkerbell in the first movie. Hook's first mate, Mr. Smee, is voiced by veteran voice actor Jeff Bennett, who has done voice acting as many current Disney characters, including Johnny Bravo. Smee hasn't changed a bit. He's still the same bumbling and kind pirate he was in the first film, and he tries to help Hook get his mind off Peter with massages and other things. Next we come to Hook's newest enemy, the octopus. This beast was Hook's tool to get rid of Peter, but Tink lifted it out of the water with pixie dust, and it fell on Hook's deck. After Hook escaped from its mouth, the octopus sees Hook as a codfish and wants to eat him, similar to TikTok the crocodile. I find this thing pretty funny when it pops its suction cups, in the same rhythm the crocodile's alarm clock does. And it's also hilarious, but a little rude, when it squirts water at Smee. What's more, the octopus even sinks Hook's ship at the end of the movie. Next we have Jane's mother, Wendy, voiced by veteran voice actress Kat Susie. Best known as Fifi LaFume from Tiny Toon Adventures, Lola Bunny from Space Jam, Annabelle from Annabelle's Wish, and many more. To me, Wendy is a wonderful mother. She knows how to make her children happy with Peter Pan stories and games. Plus, Kat Susie's voice as Wendy makes her sound very motherly, similar to her role as Kanga from a few Winnie the Pooh movies. I especially love the scene at the end where Wendy reunites with Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. And despite that she's grown up, both of them are happy to see her because they know they'll be friends forever. The last character I need to talk about is Jane's little brother Danny, voiced by Andrew McDonough. While he doesn't have a big role here, I do love this little lad because I can see Danny growing up into Peter or a new lost boy. And now, let's move on to my final words. Overall, Return to Neverland is a decent Disney sequel. The animation is wonderful, as well as a little bit of computer animation. The characters are all fun and hilarious, though Jane doesn't start out as much. The voice acting is fantastic, the songs are tear-jerking and fun, and the story is a delightful childhood wonder. And I'm grateful that several parts of the movie bring back memories from the first movie. So, if you'd like to watch a Disney sequel that's decent, full of imagination, and cherished memories, then by all means, look no further than this underrated movie. I give this film a rating of 87% out of 100. Well, that's all for today, everybody. But before I go, I need to give a little announcement. If you'd like to see Peter Pan performed at Musical Theater Village, then by all means, go to this link listed here for information on tickets. But you only have until May 21st to see it. So be sure to join me again next time for my next blog. Mustang Power!